Hello guys, today I'm going to show you a Python program in which many programmers get confused and even I should say many new programmers, old programmers don't worry. If you have been programming for a while, it doesn't matter. But these new programmers who come in or just normal people who are trying out your program file also get confused because people and I know the situation. It's really frustrating trying to get your code right? And people sit for hours and hours getting together, saying, "What is wrong in my code? What is wrong in my code?" Right? So I'm going to show you such an instance in which many programmers get confused and they keep thinking, "What is wrong?" And they won't be able to identify. Okay, so I'll be using IntelliJ. First of all, I'm using Python. You could try it as Java and C++ as well. I'll be using IntelliJ. My ID will be IntelliJ. You could also use PyCharm, and there are many other Vision Studio, and there are many other REPLIT.IT as well there. So anyone you could use. So without wasting any time, let's jump in and let's see that one instance. Okay, in my idea, I've created a new Python file. That's basically create our lesson. So here I'm going to type. Usually, there's no starting Python code, right? It's just in a sequence. There's no rules of starting the Python code. Usually, in big programs, import random module or whatever module is come first. We don't need to import anything. Then usually comes the function definition to define maybe greater. So that is what usually next comes. But we're not going to define function in this project as well. We're just going to type some. I'm going to create a variable that's no1 equal to 400 and no2 equal to 500. I'm going to put a comment here saying this will be called assigning values. So this is called assigning values. So I'll just put the same comment here because it's again the same thing. Assigning values. Yes, values. Now I'm going to type an if condition. If you know Python, you'll keep knowing this, right? If you know Python, new programmer, you'll be knowing. So if no1 is greater than no2, then print, that's the print function in double quotes, first parentheses and then double quotes because it's string. I'm not printing an int. I'm going to put a replacement field that is greater dot format. There are many ways of doing this actually. no1 else print no2 is greater dot format. And right now the answer would clearly be no2 is greater, right? So I'm going to run this Python file. Run 500 is greater. That's basically no2 is greater. The same thing could have been done in another way as well. If you want, you could put no1 here and put an f before that. This is called an f string. It's a little bit advanced as well. So it's a little bit advanced, but you can surely try. So here also this output will be the same. Now, now from now onwards, I'm not going to assign values myself. I am going to get some values from the user. So I'm going to comment out these lines. So in my ID, that's IntelliJ, control and front slash will do that. So control front slash has done the job. Now I'm going to say no1 equal to int input what double quotes what first number, right? So what is the first number? That's no1. I put an int because int stands for integer, as you all know. Int stands for integer, and also we want only numbers, right? So see, let me show you one thing. So if I put int and if I type maybe my own name, an error will come because we have invalid literal for int. See, int with base 10. So it has a base value of 10 digits. That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to start. So I'm going to put a question mark and a space. Question mark and a space. Right? Okay, I'm going to say run. Now if I put maybe 1,500, it will clearly say 1,000 is great. Now comes the catch. Everything's working fine. You put it. Now I'm going to type 500 as my first number and my second number as well as 500. Could you guess what the output would be? Could you guess that? Wait, you could pause the video, think, and then come back as well. The output would clearly be N2. That is N2 is greater. Should I show you? So 500 is greater. I'll show you. I'm going to remove this replacement field for now. And I'll show it to you. I'm going to remove replacement fields. Otherwise, you won't know which 500 we are talking about. Right? It will clearly say NO2. What is the first number? Let me give some input. 500, 500. N2 is greater. This is where many programmers get stuck. How did NO2 come? Many new programmers, right? And also like the normal people, like when I look at this output, I'll say there's something wrong with the computer. It should say equal. As we all know, computers are very obedient and they do whatever we want without complaining. But the drawback is they cannot think. Even if you give them, even if they say 2 plus 2 is 5, that means the user has given 2 plus 2 is 5 and not the computer. So the computer is obedient and does whatever the user says. So that is one. But why did it choose NO2? Maybe NO1 could also come, right? It is because we are checking if only NO1 is greater than NO2. So let's say, okay, I'm going to take an example. Okay, let's say NO1 is 500. Here, NO1 is 500 and NO2 is 600, right? If let's think that we are the computer and we have got this as NO1 and we've got this as NO2. NO2. Now let's see. We have to check if NO1 is greater than NO2. Is NO1 greater than NO2? No, this is wrong. It is not greater than NO2. Whatever is the instance, we are going to move to the else statement and print this out. That is where the problem occurs. Let me show it to you once again. Let's take 1,000 this time and take 2,000 this time. 2,000. And this is NO1. This is NO2. Right? NO2. Now, what is this? If NO1 is greater than NO2, are we checking? Then only do this. So, is it greater? No, it's not. So, directly jump this statement and directly come to the else statement. Whatever else the cause is, we are not checking if NO2 is greater than NO1. That is not we're checking. We are only checking this and then already before thinking, we are already saying that it's greater. So it's like predefining the function. So NO1, we are not checking if NO2 is greater than NO1. We just, because NO1 is not greater than NO2, obviously we are saying, obviously with common sense, we are saying NO2 is greater than NO1. But we have to think that it can be equal as well. So that is where the little catch goes. There are two ways of solving this problem. Either you could use, I'll show you both ways. You could use this thing called LF. NO1 is equal to NO2. NO2. Okay, listen, there is a mistake in this code. I know it. I want to show you why is there a mistake here as well. these numbers are equal. Will this work? Can you see it's expecting that? So yeah. So I'll say syntax error. There is somewhere invalid syntax. You know, now in Python, if you're a Python programmer, you'll know why. And if you've learned operations in Python, you'll know why there's a mistake. If you've seen, we have used NO1 is equal to NO1 is equal to 400, NO2 is equal to 500. We have used 1 equal to sign to bind 400 to NO1 and to bind 500 to NO2. So what does this mean? We are not trying to check, but we are trying to bind NO2 to NO1, right? So NO1 is where NO2 we are binding, but here we are trying to bind NO2 to NO1, which is, we don't want that to happen. So in Python, there's a method of doing that, basically to iterate into each of these variables and check. So that method is just putting another equals to sign. So that this would check inside what's there. So 500, 500, these numbers are equal. This is the first way of doing it. So this is hash one way of doing it. One way of doing it. This all comes under this itself. So let me just put it up. So I hope you have understood really what is the catch here. Because it's very important. So otherwise you keep thinking, sitting for hours and keep thinking what is wrong with the code. This is all the one way of doing it. Second way of doing it is I have another method where I'll just copy this whole thing again. Paste it out and remove it. Control/. Just 1 second. Okay, I'll ignore this for now. Let me delete all this. You have to ignore all this. Doesn't matter about all this. Second way of doing it is we can use something called a nested loop. If you learn that, we'll be using a nested loop. Nested loop is basically a loop inside a loop. So first the inner loop gets the outer loop, and then comes to the inner loop. So before printing this NO2 is greater, I'm going to say else if NO1 is equal to NO2, then you print these numbers are equal. These numbers are equal. These numbers are equal. Now there could be no other possibility. So we use an if statement and say basically, we're going to basically say print NO2 is greater. Now we can clearly say that NO2 is greater without any doubt, because there could be no other way of doing it. 500, these numbers are equal. Let's check it in all kinds of methods. 600, 500, NO1 is greater. 500 and 600. We've checked all three possibilities and everything seems to work fine. Everything clearly seems to work fine. So that is where the catch is. With this, that is how you have decode programming. So take it bit by bit, think you're the computer and think that you're doing the problem and how would you approach it, right? How you checking? Don't think you're using your head. You're using the coding knowledge that don't use your brain at all. Just use that coding knowledge that's there and what you have set to the computer. So that is all about programming. It's it's quite easy. It's not really hard as well. If you learn the syntax, there could be code programming, text programming, Scratch, and Scratch is like code programmer, when Python, Java is all text programming. So with this, I have to end this video here. If you liked this video and understood why, and if I've saved you from thinking all day, then give this video a thumbs up. If you want more content like this, like, share, subscribe to the channel. With this, see you all next time.